committed to equipping you to hone your media skills better to stand out from the crowd as a go-to expert in your field. Each week, Rich Bontrager interviews top leaders, influencers, authors, speakers, podcasters, and media professionals about how to leverage media best to help you shine brighter on camera and stage as a go-to expert. Now, here's your host, The Trigger, Rich Bontrager.
And good evening. Welcome back to How the Rock Stage. It's Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. We're live streaming back again on multiple platforms. Rock the Stage is all about helping you shine on camera, shine on stage, elevate you and your brand. And we always have amazing guests come in. And again, Jordan, it's Wednesday, not Thursday. Happy Wednesday to you, Jordan. As he comes flying in, one of our regulars here. He's so pumped up for the night. We're going to have a great show tonight. We're always here to help you shine on camera and shine on stage with these amazing guests. And tonight we are going to get into truly a rockin' show tonight. We have a great guest, many years of experience. We're going to dive deeply into that. We also want to mention tonight, we're also thankful for our sponsor that makes it all possible to bring this to you. The National Speakers Association is one of our sponsors. And again, the NSA is a place to help you. If you're a speaker, an influencer, you want to learn how to level up your skills, that's part of the way you do it with the National Speakers Association. And we're proud to be partnering with them and bringing this show to you. And of course, don't forget, Rock the Stage Media is now also a podcast. When we're done here, we're going to recycle it and go up an audio version that will go live on Thursday. But for now, we do want to bring in an amazing, wonderful guest tonight. And let me give a proper introduction to our guest star here tonight. Robin Creasman is a masterful musician, performance coach, keynote speaker, and a 2-time Emmy and 17-time Telly Award winning television producer. He is also known as the Rockstar Speaker and Performance Coach with 25 years of experience in music, television, speaking, entertainment, and as a former recording artist himself, record company executive. He had that title as well. He's an Emmy award-winning television producer with over 300 hours of broadcast television shows. Robin has worked with over 50 renowned celebrities, Trisha Yearwood, Vince Gill, NASCAR's Jeff Gordon, and Sir Paul McCartney, among many, many others. Robin also was the co-founder and the lead singer of the Backstreet, and they won 3 consecutive top pop rock band awards in Texas, and they competed for the $100,000 prize with Ed McMahon on the old Star Search television show. They decided a recording artist with USA Records and shared the stage with famous bands like Starship, Restless Heart, one of my all-time favorite bands, Firefall, and the Pointer Sisters. And if that's not enough, he is a highly sought-after performance coach. Robin has coached and produced over 140 speakers, including 17 members of the Speaker Hall of Fame. Robin, welcome to Rock the Stage tonight.
Wow, thank you, Rich. Awesome, man. What an introduction. My goodness.
And right now we are seeing comments flying in already. We haven't even done anything and people are loving on you. It's just a great
good to see
night
you, man.
to launch off and see people coming on in. So the stage is set. You've been properly introduced. And how did you get in this whole crazy business to begin with?
Wow. Well, I wanted to be a rock star growing up. I wanted to play music and be, Paul McCartney. But it never quite happened. Got close. Like you said, played with Backstreet. My cousin and I started a band. And we had great success in the North Texas area. Went on to record 3 albums, had our own nightclub for a while, got featured on Star Search, but unfortunately Sawyer Brown, country band, beat us out at the very end. And so, but it was a wonderful experience. That led me getting into the record company business as a national marketing director for a division of Word Records, the largest Christian record company at the time in the country. And that was a special experience. And then my mentor, Bill Landers, musician, spiritual mentor, a friend, business, got into television, having been in the music business, and said, I want you to come work with me. And I didn't know anything about television. And he said, I'll teach you everything I know. I want you to be better than me. And I was never better than him, but he did teach me a lot. And we became partners, and over the years worked with him as an associate producer, as a producer, a director, supervising producer, and executive producer at the end. So it was a wonderful time. And I just got lucky, quite honestly, along the way. and didn't know a lot about the industries that I was beginning to go into. And I just jumped in and learned what I could, and I had a good fortune. So it was a wonderful career. And then I ultimately got involved in the speaking business by accident, really. And got invited to come down to the International Speakers Bureau to do a project for them. And they were the third largest speakers bureau in the world at that time. And I didn't know much about the speaking business. My dad happened to be good friends with Zig Ziglar. My dad was a pastor and a minister, and they got connected that way, and they were golfing buddies. But that's about all I knew from the speaking world. And then all of a sudden, I moved my little team down into their office, and they started parading speakers into me to produce their videos. So I'm coming from a television producer into a video producer now for speakers. And it was an awesome time because I was able to bring a new perspective to the speaking world coming from the entertainment side. And that kind of blew up, and it was wonderful. And it kept going where I became a speaker myself and then went back into television, but we'll get into that. But it was just a lot of fun.
Which one did you like out of that? Did you like the music side when you were back playing with the bands and touring? Did you like the fact that you got into television and producing and doing all that? Or did you really like the coaching side of the speaking world?
Yes, and yes. Actually, dude, I loved every bit of it. I mean, my heart was being a musician, and I love it. I still play to this day. And I was playing as a speaker at a program called Rockstar Principles of Success. And I would go out and do shows, and I'm doing music from the classic rock era and telling my stories from the artists that I used in my television shows. So I still do it, and I love it. But man, I was in a record company. Are you kidding me? I thought, now I've been on the front side. Now I'm on the back side. I learned a great deal about working for a record label, and then getting to be in television, because most of the television that we did were specials and series and reality type things, documentaries, basically with rock stars, whether they were musician rock stars. We did a lot of stuff for TNN, the Nashville network back in the day, which was home of country music. Yeah. So I've got a lot of country artists that I worked with, a lot of rock artists that we worked with as well. And then NASCAR, Jeff Gordon, the NASCAR driver, did 5 specials with Jeff. So all of these artists and people that I got exposed to were amazing. Then I started meeting all these speakers who literally wrote the book, on whatever topic they were. And I've been blessed. Yeah. It's been a remarkable time. So,
by the way, tonight we're trying something new. We're going to try something new here tonight. If you want to text, always use the chat, drop them in the chat. But tonight, if you want to ask questions of Robin, myself, as we have a great conversation, use 507-358-4212. Just use that text and we'll field your questions. We'll use the chat. We'd love to have you involved with the conversation tonight as we talk with Robin about his many career and how you can rock your stage. We're going to get into that. But the NSA, the National Speakers Association, you and I are both connected to that. You've had a great career. Many of the NSA people tune in here. How did you really fall into that? And how far did you go with the NSA?
Well, after our television career with Morning Star Entertainment Group ended after about 15 years, TNN, the national network, sold. And so basically our eggs were all in one pot, that and ESPN. So we kind of disbanded for a little while. And I went out on my own. And my second client after a Billy Graham documentary that I did was the International Speakers Bureau. And I didn't know much about it. And they started parading people into me, speakers who literally had written the book, but they needed a new video. And so I was producing their videos, which led me to coaching them, because a lot of them wrote the book, but they really weren't that good on stage necessarily. I shouldn't say that good. They were good, but they could be a lot better. And so I started coaching them, and I ended up getting dubbed the Simon Cowell of the speaking business. Remember Simon Cowell from back in the American Idol days? But with a smile on my face, because I was there to bring truth. I was there to really be honest with them, having produced their videos. I'm watching all their footage. I know what they've done and what they haven't done. And I began to coach them as they asked questions, and they then hired me to be their coach. So it was a remarkable time. And I've got some of my greatest friends who are professional speakers at NSA. And then I started getting asked to go and speak to chapters on how to be a rock star speaker, because I got kind of this rock star thing coming from my world of television. I got dubbed the Rockstar Speaker by the Canadian Speaker magazine, doing an article on a couple of us. And so that kind of stuck. And then I did, I think, 17 chapters for NSA on doing that program. And I ultimately got asked to speak in 2008 on the main stage for the national convention in New York City. It was called NSA Rocks. Dude, it was one of the biggest conventions they've had. And they asked me to host a panel of rock stars. So I got Kevin Cronin from REO Speedwagon to join me, Simon Kirk from Bad Company to join me. And then they'd already worked with David Fishoff, who is the founder of the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp and Ringo Starr's manager and the producer of the Dirty Dancing touring play, or stage play. They were my panel, and we were on the main stage, and the topic was what a speaker can learn from a rock star. Mark LeBlanc was president that year, and Eric Chester, Bill Stanton, so many great people, leaders were part of that program. And it was a remarkable time, and it was talked about and still is today as one of the best programs ever for NSA convention. How could it not be when you've got 3 rock stars?
Oh my goodness.
Little rock stars, So that was a great thing. Yeah.
Kevin and those guys still had their voice at their highest level. They were still there. I mean, they're still touring, but it's not the same Kevin Cronin and RL Speedwagon. Let's admit that. But I still love it.
He doesn't have his hair used to be crazy and black. It's all white like mine. Mine used to be black or brown as well, all white. So that definitely shows her age. But Kevin's still got it. They're still working it. I mean, they're touring constantly. They're out right now with Loverboy and Styx, and they're just constantly touring. We've become friends over the years and see him a lot. And it was just a great guy, great experience with NSA, and they loved them. They loved our speakers, our audience, and the audience loved them. It was really amazing.
So what really separates you from others? I mean, you do video producer, speaker coach. What really separates you and distinguishes you more than anything else?
I have to say, coming from the entertainment world, I have an entertainment mindset and a marketing mindset from an entertainment perspective. When I very first came in and started producing videos, they were sizzle reels. They were you had to be in the maybe pile or the trash pile for a speaker bureau, representative, a meeting planner to book you. And they would, that first 2 minutes, that first 30 seconds into the next 60 seconds to the second minute had to be wow. And no one was doing that at the time. And then beyond that, in those days, speakers videos were 12 to 15 minutes long, sometimes 20-minute long. So having produced so many documentaries, I was able to go into the content of watching 3 hours of their presentations, 3 different presentations, culling the best and losing the rest, and then packing those together like one of my television shows. So it was very entertaining and insightful, and it jumped from one event to the next event to the next event, and it just positioned the speaker in such a powerful way that I quickly blew up because of word of mouth. And that was because of that style. And the same thing with coaching. I know from the music business, there are hundreds of thousands of musicians trying to get a record deal. And boy, if you don't have what it takes, there's somebody right behind you. And so next. And so Simon Cowell was out really hot at American Idol during those days. And I watched his coaching and critiquing of these speakers, and he was known to be really harsh. People hated him, Yeah. But all the artists in the interviews they were doing, they said, I love Randy and I love, what's her name? I forgot her name. Paula Abdul in their conversations. But when Simon speaks, we listen because we know that matters. And so I kind of began to tell the truth with a lot of the speakers, and they push back a little bit. And I said, well, that's not really true because I've got it right here on video. You really didn't do what you think you did. Oh, okay. And so, they begin to embrace me and trust me. And I probably knew their presentation better than anybody else on the planet, even more than their spouse, because I was living it so long to get the videos done. So I think that's just what was different. And I just blew up. People were recommending me like crazy. The videos now are much different. Oh, yeah. Chris West is the guy now. He is doing great in producing him. I don't know him personally, but I know of him. I've seen a lot of what he does, and he's doing a great job in producing videos. So
well, and again, the pandemic is making radical changes. That's how this show was born. That's how Rock the Stage was born. There's so much going on that it's an evolution for speakers, video people, TV show hosts. There's so much going on right now. But let's get into these 4 things you got going on here. Can you talk a little bit about the 4 ways to stand out on stage and present like that rock star that we all want to be?
Yeah, and this is I have a course called Rock Your Keynote to Book More Gigs, and this thinking comes from that, which came from my years of coaching speakers. And again, I have an entertainment industry perspective, and I got to spend so much time on the road with a lot of real rock stars doing a documentary called Full Access on Tour, behind the scenes look at country music artists on the road. Documentary on the life of Buddy Holly, where we interviewed 17 artists who were influenced by Buddy Holly, and then a series called Troubadour Texas, which is a docu-reality series of 22 artists for 22 episodes a year, every season, hour-long episodes, documenting their life. So I've seen, not only with my own experience as playing professionally as a musician, but what it's really like to put a program, a show together, have a band, and be able to go out and rock the house night after night after night. And so I began to look what speakers were doing. And again, a lot of them had written the book, so they were very knowledgeable, but they did not understand presentation skills from a wow perspective. And so I began to think through, how does this work? And so I looked at my life as a producer, and I thought, well, you know what? If I were producing a television show, what would be my process if I had to start over? Well, it's think like a producer. That's the first step. Stage like a director. Write like a storyteller and songwriter. Rehearse like an actor. And then perform like a rock star. You take those 5 pieces and you go through each one of those steps with the process, what it takes to do each one of those areas. And all of a sudden, you think differently. You're more broad in what you even imagine. The what if I could do that, comes to place. And it just opened up a world of opportunity. So that's my 5 things that I would teach people. And I can run through them if you want. But those 5 steps are really the keys.
So everyone get ready. You're going to start writing things down, soaking it up. I mean, you are at the foot of a rock star that knows how to make you a rock star. So if you want to up your game here tonight, we're going to take this a little bit at a time, take little nuggets here. So think like a producer. Break that one down, because most people don't even know what a producer does.
Okay. In the world of television, movies are different, but in the world of television, the producer typically is the creator or co-creator of a concept of a show. They will hire directors, writers to come in. Sometimes they're the writer themselves, but they will hire other people, ancillary people around them. But typically the producer is a creator or co-creator. So imagine if I'm producing a new television show, simultaneously you are producing a new speech. What I would suggest to do, what I would be doing with my television show, first of all, I would begin to brainstorm the idea. Well, what am I trying to do with this show? What is this about? Who is it going to reach? What's the audience? Are they going to like it? Who's my competition? I'd go through all of those factors and narrow this down. So what is the show about? What's your speech about? What problem does it solve? What's the concept of the show? Who's going to watch it? Who's the audience for the show? And who's going to be the buyer, not the audience necessarily, but the buyer of your speech? What's so special about you that you are going to be the one that has to create this? And then what's the wow? And right before that is what's in it for them? What's the point of the watching the show? Is it going to be a drama, a comedy? Is it funny? Is it stupid? Is it a variety show? What's the idea there? And then for the speech, what's the benefit to the attendee? What's in it for them? And so once you kind of go through that, then you have to bring that rough concept to some broadened, experienced minds in the industry that you're in and present it to them. It's rough, but you're presenting it to them just to get a first level. Not so sure about that, Rich. I'm not sure that was going to work. So you either like, okay, this is not going to work. You need to start over. Or yeah, but you need to tweak this. If you were to da-da-da-da-da. So you get some new perspective, okay? Then you bring in your writer or co-writer, and you begin to think, okay, well, back up. You go to your director next. Then you begin to think.
Let's talk about that director now.
The director kind of brings you a new perspective because they're the ones a lot of times, and I was a director as well during my years. How do I make this look? What's the shot? What's the staging? What's the idea? Do we go on location? Do what, all those types of things. So the director comes in and says, okay, so here's the concept. Here's the speech topic. I'll relate all this to the speaking side, and you'll see the parallels with the television. But okay, you know your audience, you know what your topic's going to be. How can we present this in a cool way? What are some staging elements that we can do? Can we bring in video? Can we bring in someone on a panel? Can we bring people up from the audience? Do we bring in interviews on camera, on video? Are you going to dance? Are you going to do music? All of those things, the what ifs. And right now, I'm bringing a lot of entertainment factors. Even if you're not an entertainment type speaker, how do you think out of the box for what you do that's going to be different and set you apart from all the other speakers? That's the mindset. You throw out wide and then you bring it in.
So I'm sure during those days, because the PowerPoint was king back then, you were probably telling people, cut the PowerPoint, right? You were telling them to do creative things, but PowerPoint was not the way to go. And it still isn't, right? Unless
you did a killer presentation of PowerPoint. And what I mean by that, it's not bullet points. It's rarely even script on screen.
No.
It's videos. It's imagery. It sells the stage. I've got on my PowerPoint that I was using when I was doing before, I had music transitions for every single point that I was making. I was doing the Rockstar Principles of Success. I had 8 points that I was doing. Now that is crazy nuts, and I don't recommend that, except in what I was doing was an entertainment-based program. And so I had Mick Jagger and Paul McCartney and Trisha Yearwood and all of these people showcased on there. And music was underneath those beds. Yeah. So it was produced in a very entertaining way. All the AV guys was come back after goes, wow, we've never seen a show like that. And here's the key. It was timed out. It was timed out. So if I had a segment on one point and I'm going to be up on that segment for 6 minutes and I had my presentation, it was produced in 6-minute segments. I knew it that well that I produced it. And so I would hit click once and everything behind me was constantly, going along with what I'm saying. That's the power of knowing your program like a concert. It's verbatim. And we'll talk about that in a minute.
So I want to do this because right now you just set up the whole visual, the whole energy. This is something that I want you to talk through a little bit because you talk about the music, the pacing. Let's bring this in here right now and just show everybody a sample of what you kind of produce.
Oh, this is just a quick little slideshow of just some of my career background. And this is nothing produced. It's just a bunch of slides. These are acts that we opened up for. That was my band before. Here's some of the artists that are on my shows. That was a wonderful time. And full access on tour was a big key thing for us. The Jeff Gordon show. We did a thing for Humor in the Heartland, all these comedians. That's the Buddy Holly special that we did. We did a behind the scenes, the first NBC special ever for NASCAR. That's the Troubadour, Texas. That's the young songwriters on their way to success. Some of my speaker clients, some of you might know some of these guys. And then my own speaking as well, a part of that when I was out doing my Rockstar Principles of Success. And then some of my Rockstar buddies. And then these are individual accolades for just a few of the artists that I produced. And I want to show you at the end of this, the number of accolades that all of these guys had. There's Victoria Labama, a great Hall of Fame speaker. Vince Gill. But check this out. In like 2 slides, you're going to see this. Of course, my hero moment was that right there with Paul McCartney. But look at this. 56 Grammy Awards, 149 Grammy nominations, 64 CMA Awards, 75 #1 hit songs, 93 NASCAR won and 4 championships, and over 700 million albums sold. Can you believe that? So that is crazy, crazy, crazy. So getting to be on the road with these artists, doing these documentaries. I'm with them I'd go out and scout the location with them, be on the road for 3 or 4 days while they're on tour, bring my team back, and we would be with them for 4 more days. And I'd be in the edit bay working on all the shows and interacting with them while they're out on the road and their managers. What an education. And so
Well,
I
and
was
again, I want
blessed,
everyone to
man.
see that, and it is packed with screaming guitars in the background and everything. But we wanted Robin to
Yeah,
talk
we
through
couldn't
that a
hear any
little bit.
music.
So we wanted
Yeah.
you guys to see and hear and understand. Let's get back into storytelling now because we still got a couple more points to get in here.
Okay. Okay. Now you've kind of got some ideas that the director has given you, and you've opened your mind up. Now you've got to bring in the content, the words. Well, I want you to think, instead of bullet point driven, working from PowerPoint first, I want you to think, how can I take my message, whatever it might be, and craft it more as a story? The whole thing. Yeah, you've got to always have a lot of different stories. But think of it as could it be a one man or one woman show? Is that possible? I did a thing for a bunch of scientists not long ago at the Southwest Institute of Intelligence. And they wanted me to come and talk to them about presentation skills. Well, how do you teach scientists to be storytellers? It was an amazing event, but it worked. They got it. So if they can think through this like this, we can too as speakers. And so you begin to think, okay, have you read a book that was just you couldn't put it down and you just were engulfed with it? Probably so. More importantly, have you heard a song that you just, you loved it, you resonated with it so much, go, that's my story, that's my song? We all have.
Yeah.
Now here's what's interesting. That's a 3 to 4 minute little piece of art that has 2, maybe 3 verses with a chorus that repeats, that has a little memorable middle called the bridge. That's it. And yet it is a hit song. So millions of people love the song, have probably purchased the song, but you think it's your song because it connected with you. That's the attitude and the idea I want us to come to presenting our programs. People resonate with stories. They resonate when it's personal. Now, it's not all about me. It can't be that. Even if you're telling your own stories, which I was doing in my past, but it always had relevance. And what's the point? What's in it for them? It always had a call to action, always had a point. They were just wow because they could relate to some of that. So if we think like a storyteller as a writer or a songwriter, and we first of all, we write the whole speech out. Hear me well. You write the whole speech out. Why? Not to memorize it, but to get rid of the things you're not going to use.
Mm-hmm.
As you write things down, or even if you speak it and then get it translated, you will not use half of it, because it's just when you look at it and you read through it, you go, oh, that's not really relevant. That's not that really good. Oh, I could say that better. So by writing it down and knowing it and timing it out, you know what to keep and what to lose. Keep the best and lose the rest.
Yeah.
Then you break it down in segments and you learn it so well, you never would ever be talked about memorizing, because you're not memorizing it. You just know these stories.
It oozes out of you. It just seeps out of you as you do it.
That's right. It's just in your bones. Which brings us to the next section, which is rehearse like an actor.
Because hang on for 1 second.
Yeah,
I want to go back to storytelling for 1 second here, because when I coach people, they're always, okay, the introduction, and I coach them having your introduction written out. Someone else read the introduction, set the stage for you, and then you go hit the stage and hit it hard. Most of them want to start with, hi, let me tell you a little bit about myself. And I'm like, stop, don't do it. Lead with a story right off and hit them with something they do not expect. Do you agree with that, storyteller?
1,000%. First of all, I suggest producing a video as your opening versus having someone read it, because I've seen so many videos, so many introductions get just bashed because they don't do it well. So produce your own video, have a producer do it for you, so it comes out and man, you're wow. And also I always suggest embed some applause at the end of that. It's always got music underneath it. Always embed a little bit of applause to it. So when they say, so please welcome Rich Trigger Bontrager. All right. The applause starts happening live in the room, and the applause continues in the video. Now there's some energy coming in, which means you've got to hit the stage with something powerful. Yes. It's not about your plane ride in here, your Uber ride, or great to be here. Thank you, John Beatty. None of that. It's immediately start with a story, start with a question, start with, if it's not something fun and crazy, start with something serious, provocative. ask them to raise their hands, do something that's different from any other speaker. And you have already figured that out when you're thinking like a director. You're already programming the idea. So you're not going to do that. So
Thank you. I just want to clarify that people skim over that. And that's why takeoff and landing are two of the most important things in any speaking. You need to take off and you need to hit it, because otherwise you're going to crash and burn.
Think about every rock show you've ever seen. Did they ever come out, hey, what's up, guys? Let me plug in my guitar. No. The lights are going, are you ready to rock and roll? Please put your hand up. Whatever they might do. But usually it's music and their kind of stuff. And I got all kind of experiences with that. And then the artists come running out on stage and they're kicking into the show and the crowd's going nuts, smoke's happening everywhere, flashing lights. It's wild. They start with their second best song and they end with their best song.
Yes. Let's get into directing, because I love the idea of the actor rehearsing. There is something about knowing it so well. You can do it in your sleep, but you don't do it in your sleep. But you do. This is performance.
100%. So a lot of people come, say, Robin, we can't write this out because I'm not going to memorize this. No, I agree. 100%. Like you said, the intro, your opening, like the back of your hand. And your closing like at the back of the hand. The beginnings and endings are crucial in everything we do. In everyday life, when we meet somebody, our first impressions matter and our ending impression, our last impression matters. So that's important for this as well. And then you've got to make sure that you know your stories. And I like to say go from 2D to 3D. Get away from just the flat, telling a story. Act it out, almost really physically move on the stage, act it out. If you're in a conversation in the story, act out the conversation on the stage.
Play the two parts.
Play the two parts. It engages people. I remember that back in the day, a lot of times, people would be on the phone. Well, they still are on the phone. All of a sudden, when you're talking and they're doing that, and all of a sudden you said, it was last Tuesday. It was 2:00 in the afternoon. It was pouring down rain. And all of a sudden they're doing this themselves. Last Thursday at 2:00, their heads come up. On a story, it brings them back to life. Well, you never will even lose them if you do what I'm suggesting you do. And that's being completely engaging. And what you've done, because of the director and the producer way back when, you are producing every 7 to 9 minutes.
Yes.
And those are standalone segments, just like a television show.
Yes.
Television show, a 60-minute television show is really 42 to 45 minutes, interrupted by 6 different commercials for 2 or 4 minutes, depending now what the number is. But you've got a beginning, middle, and end of each segment. The beginning's got to be great to keep them watching. It's got to continue on, have a very active middle, and then a enticing close where they go, wait, what just happened? Because they're going away to a commercial break, right? They come back from the commercial break and they've got to be, do I still want to watch this? Oh, wow, what's going on? And then what at the end, why, how did that happen? And they go to another commercial break. Well, that's the way we should be producing our keynotes. It's in segments, and you've rehearsed each segment. And you know it like the back of your hand. Then you add the next segment, then the next segment. Now you are rehearsing a whole presentation. And the only way that you're going to get better is to practice. But you're going to rehearse, record, review, start over. Rehearse, record, review, and start over. And you do that and you do that and you do it. When I mean record, I mean now we all have cameras that we can record for Zoom, things like that. Record yourself doing a segment. Watch it, review it. That didn't really work. I need to change this. Get that segment down. Go to the next one. Get it down. Then do half the presentation as a full let roll. And then retweak that and then do the whole program. And then do that several times so that you know what you're doing for 45 to 55, 60 minutes.
Well, and also there's that roller coaster. Like you said, you want to take them on a journey, so you can't stay here the whole time. And no one wants you to stay here. So you have to learn how to have that roller coaster and sight, sound, taste, smell. When you story tell it, when you act it out, make it a sensory experience. Draw them into your experience with you.
Each segment is a beginning, middle, and end, and it is a roller coaster that you have to keep that going on. Some are high energy. Think about a concert. You start big and you end bigger. And then the second song, third song, it's still pretty up. They're still really good. And then they might stop and they do a little break, talk a moment, and then they do a ballad, maybe something to slow it down. And then they bring it back up to another mid-tempo stuff that's real active. Then they go crazy with the jam session. And then they break that down and they do what I call the memorable middle. It's the unplugged section. In a speech, I call it the memorable middle. But that's when a lot of the artists will put down their electric instruments, go out in the middle of the Coliseum on a rising stage that comes up, and their acoustic piano, acoustic guitars, and they go intimate for a little while. People are loving it because, number one, it's now closer to them, and it's different, and it changes the sensory idea of being overloaded. And then they come back from that. Then they take the last 20, 30 minutes, and they have another roller coaster, ultimately, building up to the big encore. So, yeah, you've got to make that happen. And so that's what you're doing in your direction upstage, when you're staging the scene and you're creating with your writing, you're thinking about this roller coaster effect of these modules. How do you put that together? So when you put it all together, big wow moment for the first 8 or 9, 10 minutes that takes you through the first segment completely. Then you might change the pace a little bit there, about 15 minutes in, and then you work with that. You just kind of move it through. And like you said, music, visuals, stories, telling. Now, here's a thought, like you mentioned a moment ago. What if there was no PowerPoint? What if you lost your PowerPoint? Can you do your program without it?
That's the question I ask my clients. Do you know it well enough? If everything goes, can you keep going at the same energy and tempo? That's a great question, Robin.
And a lot of times when people have had that happen to them and they've done it, they said it felt better without it because it was more organic. And then there's the concept, well, what if I plan to do it without a PowerPoint? Like what you were talking a minute ago, where it's so interactive, so engaging, so personality driven, high energy, heartfelt. Maybe you go and get a stool and you come down and you sit at the front of the stage and the 2/3 of the way in, and you go, you know what? I gotta tell you this story. It's amazing. Vince Vicente, Vince Vicente, Hall of Fame speaker and downhill skier, Canadian Olympic skier. I did a lot of his videos early in the day. He's wonderful. He's one of the best speakers I've ever seen. He's amazing. Well, back in the day when he was doing basically his Olympic story, he started on top of a chair. He stood on just a chair in the hall, and he was acting out his skiing. He's all right, you're down on the, you're going through, you're going skiing. He's acting that out. And it's right at the top of the skis. So you're on the side of the mountain, about to be in the Olympics. You're waiting for the bell to go, and bang, and you got 2 minutes. And man, it's so intense. It was just wow. And people standing ovation at that moment within the first 3 minutes of his presentation. Now, back toward the latter part of his presentation, he's telling a story about his dad. He overheard his dad talking to a friend on the phone, telling his friend how proud he was of his son, of what he did to get to the Olympics, going from a recreational skier to an Olympic skier in 3 years, starting at 26 years old. And it's very intimate. And Vince gets kind of emotional during that period of time.
Yeah.
And you think, well, how does that connect with people? Well, it just did. First of all, it connected with the meeting planners, who they got a lot of them are ladies, and a lot even the guys. I'll get emotional. It was an intimate moment where he was vulnerable, and he shared something special to him. And we all have had, hopefully those kind of moments in our life, and we can relate back to it. And then, before we know it, he's bringing it back up again and have another big Olympic thing. So, he uses a few little images every once in a while, but most everything he did is without PowerPoint. And it was brilliant. He's now gone into another little lane of his topic, but he's still an amazing speaker. But why not? Why not think different?
Well, and we still got one more point to get into, but I want to clarify here that intensity to the mellow, to the intimacy, there's a piece in here called transition.
Yep.
And if you watch TV, movies, film, there's a transition. You don't just break it off and do it. Either it would be like slamming on your face and going through the car windshield. There is a transition, and part of the artistry of public speaking is you need to learn the art of transition.
Yeah.
You just can't go bang, bang, bang and say, I got through my talk. No, there is a transition piece. So grab a stool, sit down, come close to the stage, do something for a moment that gives them time to get ready for it, and then pull them back out of it differently, because otherwise it's going to snap their heads off, right?
Yeah. Yes. Without a doubt. And again, that goes back early on in that director and writing sessions where you are crafting this out. And my keynote that I was doing the last couple of years, Rock Your Customer, there's a segment in there. It's all about communication, performance, and connection. And there's a segment in there. I tell a story about my dad, who was a pastor for a number of years in 5 of the largest Baptist churches in America. As an education associate pastor, he was known as a church growth expert, and he was a people's pastor, and he loved on people. And I'm talking about this because he ended up getting Alzheimer's, and he lost a lot of his memory. He knew everyone's name. He could tell everyone's name. Well, as I begin to tell that story, I've got some music going underneath there that's very inspirational and heartwarming. It just soothes you, and it set the tone. And the very first time I did it was for about 600 realtors in the state of Arizona for their state conference. And it was toward the end. And I typically end with my Paul McCartney story, and I do some Beatle music and stuff. But I decided to end that day with this story without thinking. And it was so transitional, that heartfelt, that people were getting emotional in me telling the story, how wonderful my dad was and how he loved on people. And I told some stories about that. And yet now he's lost his memory and he had just passed away. And I'm sharing all that. I didn't realize the impact that that had. And I've heard so many wonderful things about that, except, and this is an unusual exception, I didn't do it like I should have done it in the program. Because my meeting planners, I was the opening keynote, they wanted me to come in and rock the stage, right? And they wanted me to have that big high energy thing at the end and, rah, rah. Well, I kind of left them on an emotional moment. I didn't realize it was going to be that emotional. I realized it in the moment on stage, and I tried to, vamp it and turn around and, kind of bring it back up. I had some interaction with the audience that I wouldn't typically have done at the end, challenging them to go out and interact with the people while we're at the conference for the next 3 days. And it worked. But in talking to my meeting planners at the end of it, I said, we loved that. We loved it. I wish it had been, I do twist and shout, shake it up, baby, trying to get everybody to shake it up and all that stuff. And I tell my Paul McCartney story and all this stuff. And it's really fun. Everyone's standing and dancing. They wished it had been that, but they loved what I did.
Right.
So you've got to be careful, because I wasn't aware that it was going to be that strong. And I've changed it since then to not go to the end, number one, but also change it around. But
you're also illustrating 2 important things. Know your audience. And sometimes you do adapt story. You do put everything in things, but also you're right. You have to know the power of a story. And since you hadn't pulled that one out before, you may not have known the power, but once you check that gauge, you have to know how to use that story. Yes.
And it's even more important almost than that, which is vitally important, is make sure you are pleasing your meeting planner and the principles of the event. Because really at the end of the day, I mean, someone is paid for you to come in there. And so you've got to make sure you're adhering to them. They are your buyer. And so fortunately, it worked out great. I went back and did another thing with them. So that's important. But yeah, transitions are vital. And why am I telling a personal story like that in a keynote? Why did Vince tell the story that he told in a keynote? Isn't it supposed to be data, data, data? Nope, not a data dump. And certainly don't wing it. So again, going back to creating, the first steps that you do are crucial with the producer's mindset, staging with the director, and writing like a storyteller, songwriter. Those set the stage for what you can build. Now your mind is open and you're going, wow, and you've had it vetted. Again, I quick little side, I've got 3 people that are really special to me that are my my team, my inner circle.
Yeah.
I'm in some masterminds. We both are in a mastermind with Jim Cathcart. He's one of my closest friends and mentors. But I've got two people that are really pour into me on a continual basis. And one of them, I had a conversation with him today. And I'll tell you honestly, I can coach you and anybody else extremely well. I cannot coach myself. And I don't think that any of us can. You think about every athlete, Tiger Woods, Jeff Gordon, any football player. We've all grown up in sports with coaches that they teach us, they encourage us, they challenge us, they scold us, they motivate us. All of those things. And without that, we get to a level that we can't see except for what we see. Well, I was having a conversation with one of my friends today, and he challenged me in a good way. You need to think about this because I'm not sure you're seeing the perspective that you might get from somebody else. What do you mean? Oh, wow, you're right. Oh my gosh. So we had a 30-minute conversation about it, and I'm just taking notes like crazy, and I'm supposed to be the coach. Well, he coached me in such a positive and powerful way, and I've got a call tonight after we finish this with another Hall of Fame speaker that I'm going to be working with, talking and going through some stuff that they're doing, just asking me questions. I'm not coaching. They're brilliant. But just having a perspective, just to vet it and think through which would be better. Oh, that's probably a smarter one to do. Maybe if you combine them. So having a coach, having someone that vets your early idea is really important to make sure you're thinking big enough, smart enough. Maybe you need to bring it in a little bit. And then once you've got that model, and we've all agreed that this is kind of the place, now you begin to put the puzzle together. But you got to have the idea, that image first of what you're building.
We've gone long tonight, but this is so good. We're probably going to break this up into two podcasts for the audio podcast, but that's great. Robin, thank you very much. Let's land the plane. Let's drop them down on perform like a rock star. We've got all the other bits and pieces. Now we got to perform it. Now we got to bring it, right?
That's right. And I'm sorry for going so long. Sorry.
No, this is great.
Awesome. Well, the last one is the key because this is what everyone sees. No one's going to see your creative early on, the writing process, the rehearsing process. They're not going to see any of that. It's all about what you bring to the stage. And man, oh man, rock stars love to stand out center stage and deliver a rock the house performance. And it has the ability to turn an average listener into a committed fan. When they come out and rock the show and you just go, oh my gosh, I love this. That's an idea, without that big of a rah-rah, is what we need to do as speakers. So the way we do this, number one, you do not wing it at all. You know that you know that you know the program, like we've talked about. That intro, you memorize that first 2.5, 3 minutes. You memorize it. And you memorize the outro. And you get a real solid understanding of the memorable middle, that unplugged section. Beyond the other sections, you know it like it's in your bones, but it's not memorized. I mean, you know what it is. You know the story. You know the sequence. You don't have to look at your courtesy monitor. You don't have to look back to, oh, is it even going on? What if the PowerPoint breaks? You've got to know the program so that you can perform the program. Think about any live event that you've gone to that you paid money for. No one had, outside of an orchestra, no musician ever has a chart in front of them. No musician has the lyrics in front of them. Maybe I'll take that back, actually. And some of our legacy artists right now, we are seeing some of them having a lyric, a teleprompter, just as a reminder. Sometimes when I'm doing my acoustic show, I'll have just as a reminder. I mean, I know them, but just as a reminder, I'll have that there. But typically speaking, they're not there for that. They know it like the back of their hand, so much so that they don't have to think what's coming next. They don't have to think what the words are. They're focused on performing. They're running from stage to stage, jumping on the drum riser. They're kicking their feet up. They're putting the guitar behind their neck, doing a lead, whatever, They're selling the sizzle. And the lights and the sound have got you so jazzed out in the audience. You're just going, yeah. So we have to have that same perspective, even if we're low key. We've got to make sure that what we're doing connects with the audience in a way that makes it special for them. And then we take them up, because the other day, I cannot believe that, you again, the roller coaster. So you have got to make sure that you are performing your presentation. Your performance can be standing still and not moving around. Patricia Fripp, who I love to death, massive presentation skills coach, she would argue with me on a lot of this. And she loves me, and we've had conversation, but she would argue with me on some of this, and she's probably right for a good bit of the majority of speakers. But for someone that has a little bit more of an entertainment bent, a Vince Vicentia, Victoria LeBaum, Dan Thurman, Waldo, some of those guys that are much more interactive and doing stuff, Bill Stanton, Staten, those guys, Mark Scherenbach, those guys are performers, and so there's a magic to that performance side, and that's what we all need to strive to do and deliver that in a way that it's seamless. They don't know that you're performing. You never think of an actor in a play that he's performing. You just kind of believe it. And there are say George Clooney as an actor, but you also know him as a personality, as his celebrity role. When you see him in a movie that's not his cool George Clooney kind of thing, do you think, oh gosh, he's acting? Oh my goodness. No, he's so good. You buy in to his performance, right? And you're sucked in. That's what we have to do as performers and presenters. And the only way you get there is knowing your content backwards and forwards, without any PowerPoint, without any script, without any memorization. You just know it. Now, it's hard to do, but it can be done, and it's done all the time. So,
well, and that last part I really want to bring in again, because the best, greatest, world-renowned speakers create an experience. They are not given a data dump, like you said earlier, because anyone can go here. You want to go here. You want people to literally go home and say, I felt it, I tasted it, I experienced it. And that story, they'll talk about it for weeks on end. You are creating an experience, and that's a different craft that you're talking about here by rocking the stage as a speaker. You're giving them an experience. When you leave a rock show, you go home singing the songs, you'll play them back in the car again. You're all, yeah, you're going to do the same thing. When you hear a great speaker and they hit it, you're going to do the same thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've got speakers that I've just live in the audience listened to, as well as all my speakers that I produced, that I can tell you their stories. I can tell you some of their stories almost verbatim. Jim Cathcart, for an example, we both great friends with, he has his grandma story. That is one of the best, funniest, coolest stories that I've heard a speaker deliver. And Mark Scherenbach is one of the best of the world in telling stories. But they can be so memorable and so simple, and make a point that will resonate with you forever. And that's the key. That's what you've got to do. Yeah.
Robin Creasman, world-renowned musician, award-winning director, producer. He's done it all, everybody. This has been great. Please, in the chat, give us some love and everything else. Robin does have a little offer here tonight. Rock your Keynote to book more gigs. Can you tell us about this a little bit?
Well, this is a course that I did before COVID, and it was basically taking what we've talked about today and expanding it, basically teaching everything that I had taught in my one-on-one coaching, and I put it together in a course. It was $2,000 in 1997, but I dropped it down to $497 of COVID just to have access for more people. And for you guys, if anyone wants it, you can have it for $100 off, which will be $397, and it comes with a 30-minute coaching program, coaching session with me. If you'd like to take me up on that, you can. What I need you to do, because my website got hacked about a year ago, and with bots, and I had to take these courses down in my Stripe account and everything. But email me to robin@robincreasman.com or robin@rockstarspeaker.com. Either one of those will get to me. And just put in Rock Your Keynote, and then also Rock the Stage with Trigger. I just put Rock the Stage. And I'll know that it's coming from you guys, from Trigger, and I will give you a link to pay and then get a link to the course. I've repositioned the course. The course's content's the same, but I placed it inside my website versus in my course program. And then I have another program that called Rock Your Virtual Keynote, a Rock Your Virtual presentation. And it's a behind the scenes look at how to build out your studio and present as a rock star in virtual presentations. That was $97. You can have it for $77. And it was $350 for a coaching session for me to help you put together your studio. Probably not relevant anymore because probably everybody's got that, but you can get that for $297. Just put in Rock Your Virtual along with Rock the Stage. And then lastly, if you wanted to have just a free 20-minute consult with me, just send me an email. It says free coaching, Rock the Stage. And I'll send you a link and we'll set up a time to just see if there's a fit. If you want to talk about what you're doing, if it might be a place for coaching for me with you, then let's talk and see if it works. So Rock Your Keynote, Rock Your Virtual, and coaching.
Robin Creasman, thank you very much. And again, all of his links are in the chat. So those streaming along tonight, you have immediate access to them right there. Please check all that out on the replay, on the podcast, audio podcast, which will go live on Thursday. We will add that content back in there once again. I also want to let you know we do have something new from How to Rock the Stage. Here's a QR code for those streaming on live here tonight. YouTube is a great tool. It's the second largest search engine in all the world for video content. And people have not kept up their content. YouTube has gone through a major makeover. They've added a lot more new things, power tips, tricks. I want to help you do that. Hit that QR code. We're going to do this in 2 weeks on a Monday night or on a Tuesday night. And this is going to be our training Tuesdays going forward. We're going to do a different topic every other week to help you learn to rock the stage, get your presentation going. You're going to be surprised at the new things that you can do with YouTube that you may not know about. Scan that and let's have a conversation about that. Robin, you got to land the plane here tonight. What's the final takeaway comment to help people rock it like a rock star?
Man, put your audience first. Understand what their problem is. Have a solution for it. Craft your program from that perspective, understanding what they are going to be interested in, what's going to be valuable to them. It's not about you, it's about them. And then get creative. Think out of the box. Mike Rayburn, a friend of mine, his program is What If. Think about what if. What could I do? What if I did this? Would this work? What could I do this? And begin to get coaching, get people around you that you can trust that are better than you. Make sure that anyone in your inner circle would be considered better than you. That's a key piece. And let them pour into you. Pour into them as well, but let them pour into you. But I highly encourage you to get a coach. Rich is a coach. I'm a coach. Patricia Fripp's a coach. There's so many great coaches out there that are doing. Darren and Mark with Unforgettable Presentations. They're coaches. Hire somebody that can walk you through your presentation and take you up, elevate you from average to awesome to rock star. And you'll be a Rockstar speaker.
Robin Creasman, it'd be great to have you with us again. Everyone give them a shout, a wave, some love emojis as we head to the finish line here tonight. And again, this will be going live tomorrow on Apple, iTunes, other locations with the audio podcast. And of course, we'll be streaming this on other platforms as well in our replays on the website. That's rockthestagemedia.com. Go check out rockthestagemedia.com. And I see a comment coming in here and so much information. Thanks, Rich. I'm already looking forward to next Wednesday. There we go, everybody. That's a great way to land a plane. Thank you very much for that, Aaron, for coming in. Hey, this is How to Rock the Stage. I'm the Trigger, Rich Bontrager. We go live every Wednesday night. Every Wednesday night, we're live with different insights, tips, tricks from different professionals like Robin to help you better rock your stage and shine on camera. So join us next Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. We go live for How to Rock the Stage. Until then, have a great week and keep rocking.